just tell you about how we started. So RIOT Garden is a collective based on creating an inclusive, safe and kind scene. We feel that this has been slipping away in the punk scene and there's no room for being passive in these situations. We really need to make a change. So, and then Hannah will tell us about how we started. So,
hello, hi, I'm Hannah. So a couple of you people here might know of a kind of maybe small festival called Rebellion. And that is where all of this started. Thank you. That is where all of this started. I'll try and summarise it to keep it brief. So essentially, we realised there was a massive issue with harassment being swept under the rug by this certain festival. And when it was brought to their attention, their reaction was just to piss on us and sweep it under the rug and not really care. Essentially, they decided to say that, sorry you feel this way, but we get so many lovely emails every year, so this can't be happening at our festival. So therefore I got pissed off and I decided to rant on Facebook, as one does, especially during the pandemic. And from that rant I got so many people who were so open to come back to me about their own experiences and their own thoughts about this festival and how they were handling my own experiences, as well as everyone on this stage, to be very honest. And so what happened from that is we bound together, lovely Molly over here, decided to say let's take this into our own hands, formed a group chat, and from that group chat we formed RIOT Garden, this collective that is open and proud for every single person here who wants to be heard, who wants a stage, who wants a platform, no matter who you are or where you came from. So, angry Facebook button,
I just want to echo what Molly was saying. Thank you to everyone that supported us and thank you to everyone that's come out tonight. RIOT Garden did start off as a bit of an anti-rebellion thing, but it's become its own thing now. It is about giving a voice to those who are marginalised within society and creating safe spaces at punk gigs and just at events in general.
RIOT Garden!
I know we're banging on a bit now. We will get back on with the lovely acts in a minute. This is just, it's a very important thing for us and we don't want this to just be about us getting pissed and having a dance. Obviously it is about that as well. But, we just wanted to talk about some of our experiences and why we have started this. A few months ago, for example, I was at a gig where I was shoved to the ground by a massive bloke. He fucking went for me. If my mum wasn't standing in the middle of us, he would have hit me. And then he called us fucking lesbians for being in the middle of a gig and being short women. So these are just some of our experiences that we go through every day. Like, we have all been harassed and assaulted, as I'm sure many of you have, at all of these gigs. You know, it's horrible that we feel we have to have a big tall man that is our boyfriend with us all the time to feel safe. The situation is even worse for trans folk, people of colour, people who are part of the LGBT scene. You know, it is just fucking awful. It is a terrible situation. And we will stop shouting about discrimination for being ourselves when it stops fucking happening.
Our last two. And they're both about systemic misogyny, just how people really need to call out other cunts for doing that sort of shit. I am Australian, I do apologise, I do say cunt an awful lot.
We're all cunts.
But fucking call out people, whether they're your mates, your granddad, your mum, your dad, fucking call them out for their bullshit. Don't let it stand. Fuck it.
So what's brought you to the Riot Garden tonight?
What's brought me to the Riot Garden is the fact that there is way too much bullshit that goes on in other gigs, whether it's just people coming up to femme presenting people and just creeping on them, and it's kind of nice to have a safer space to not only play but to just exist and enjoy.
Yes, you don't feel the fear of being groped at a gig like this.
No, I mean, like, yesterday, it wasn't at a gig, but yesterday I was going to get a tattoo and some guy came up to me at the Met and started touching my legs to tell me how much he likes my tattoos. And I was just like, cool.
I've had that too. Some guy, my arm, oh, I like that, and he starts patting it.
Like, you can say you like it, you don't need to come into my space or touch me and then start asking me personal questions about whether I'm in a relationship or not. Like, mate, back the fuck off.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I'm sorry you had that.
It's just, I hate saying that I'm used to it, but unfortunately I am. And
You get used to it.
it sucks every time because I'm just like, mate, like, come on, it's way past the time that this stuff shouldn't be even considered okay. Like, or, you know, all right to do to a fucking stranger. Like, I mean, if one of my mates came up to me and just was like, this is a great new one, and touched my leg, I wouldn't be bothered because I feel comfortable with these people. But when it's a strange man that I don't know coming up to me, my fight or flight or freeze response is going to kick in, because as a victim of assault, I'm either going to make sure this person's never going to be able to have children, or I'm going to start crying. Like, it's either one.
One or the other, and I know exactly what you're saying.
It's just, it's shit, but I'm thankful for Riot Garden not only putting us on, but just creating a safer space for people to exist and enjoy art.
Exactly, and to start talking about it more, because we need to be talking about it.
It needs to not be swept under the rug. You know, like, I mean, in the news with the footy player that's just been, and people are like, oh, but he's a young boy. No, he's a fucking rapist. Call it what it is. He's a fucking rapist and an abuser. Like, just because he's a talented football player, he gets a pass. Fuck off.
No, that being a talented athlete does not mean that you also get to be a man who assaults women.
No.
Simple as.
No. You're a garbage piece of human. You're a garbage piece of human, and that's the end of it. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everything seems a little dark lately. The shadows move at one when there's no light. Do you think that I found comfort in the bottle? Oh, that the bottle took the darkness from the night. So I drank to forget the problems I made when I drank to forget. All my nights are buried in blackout, and I can't forget. All the mornings filled with pain and fear and regret. I can't seem to forget. No, I can't seem to forget. No. Sometimes I spend my mind with sadness to escape from the relentless reality. Sometimes I spend my mind with numbness, 'cause the darkness is less dark when it's just me. So I drink to forget the problems I made when I drank to forget. All my nights are buried in blackout, and I can't forget. All the mornings filled with shame and fear and regret. I can't seem to forget. No, I can't seem to forget. So weaponize my words and give them to my friends, and they will hunt me down until the bitter end. Weaponize my words and give them to my friends, and they will hunt me down until the bitter ends. So I drink to forget the problems I made when I drank to forget. All my nights were buried in blackout, and I can't forget. All the mornings filled with shame and fear and regret. No, I can't seem to forget. seem to forget. No, no. Thank you.
I walked into this room before during the moment where I don't know how they identified themselves, but the people that were on stage were talking about what Riot Garden is about, and I didn't realise that it's actually about it's an anti-movement for the biggest festival that this UK has provided us. I hate that festival. I was there once, and I will never go to Rebellion again. If you're a punk in this room that provides money to that festival, fuck you. It is a space that was not safe, molested. The only other black girl that was at this festival got punched in the face at the fascist gathering, and everyone kept coming to me because there was that little representation at that festival that it could only be one of us. So I ripped my wristband off and gave it to someone else, and I got that fucking train home. I never really decide what poems I'm gonna start off with, and I was just talking to Molly before about how, regardless of us trying to create safe spaces, predators will always get in because they think that we don't see them, and we do see them. So there's been many moments at many gigs where certain people have displayed predatory behaviour, and I've kept a good strong eye on them. And this poem is called Matador. It's about red flags. We shortened it down to 53 seconds of music for a Gurnal track and released it on the Friday, and then by the Monday, I think it was, 3 of my friends messaged me and told me that they'd left their abusive relationships. So if 53 seconds of it, sorry, but it's 5 minutes long, so about predators and rapists and all the rest of it. I'm sorry, I don't CW or TW anything. I think if it triggers you, I know in terms of obviously being a survivor myself, I should do that, but I think regardless, these are things that we need to hear when we need to educate ourselves about whether it makes you feel uncomfortable or not. So this poem is called Matador. You know when people say, "Oh, you sure do know how to pick 'em"? Well, I definitely do. Now, if we're talking grapes or a crispy gala or a slice of cake, that's just But partners, There are tentacles tentatively within me, sore from poor choices from time before, seeking this sexual connectivity. Being perceived can be overwhelming in any form or any way, so maybe there is room for love. You go doe-eyed. But then so do your legs. This vulva becomes vulnerable, and your pussy is just prey to the predators. You know the ones. Looking for the next mess as a conquest, because you're looking fine with your hard lines, having a hard time. They scope you from the edges, borderline. They toe the line, and then traverse it. Going in for the kill, doing it for the thrill. Heat-seeking missiles. They see you, and they play the jester as you become a fool. But their timing is tight, and it feels alright, and their eyes are pretty bright, and they're pretty, and they're bright. So, of course I was going to fall for your tall orders before I even thought about what I wanted to say. When your heart stops, there's a double dutch, kick flip, speduntis, startled by a snare roll, so you insist. Who wouldn't want more of this? Okay, that was a slightly creepy wink, but drinks clink and I don't even stop to think, because the most inexplicable feeling is why it means what it means to feel seen. So we enter a ring, linked yet unchained, embroidered in a suit of light to me. Eye, horns locked and hooves for feet. And then the love bombing, till my heart's throbbing. And now you know I want it, cause I'm love sicker than vomit. Wrapped around your finger like an amulet. Is this even charming? Or are you snaky? Pop, shove it, pull her fake, flaky. When actions don't match the words. Half an alliance, or barely a third, or just a fucking lie. But you know when something passes before your eyes so quickly, you don't even have time to realise or question if it mattered at all. Was it momentous enough to be big or small, or it just happened? But then it happened again. Reiterations relived in rouge. The red flags. No tints, no roses, no one okayed it. Your role, you played it. Obscene occurrences on several occasions have become a repetitive ocular invasion in the fragments that are left of my mind. I didn't ask you why you crossed the road, I asked you why you crossed the line. This is my life. It is not a joke. It is not okay. It is not fine. Spending time to listen to your poor and petty excuses, bottomless promises without use, it's all been heard before. But now I see the demons in your deeper meanings. And I'm too seasoned to be out here believing. Not anymore. Not like before. So now they're seething. And now they're reeling. And you watch this guilt unfurl. Recoiling from filtered form and reverted to their pre-recorded. Manipulations and the rest. Unimpressed. I uninvest, for you lost my interest. The underlay swept from beneath their feet, and this time I get to take a seat. Was it any of it real? Or was it just a spiel, a reel you carefully used to seal? Problematic mannerisms, careless behaviour. But if I was to unpeel, what would it reveal? What else have you concealed? Dishing out ordeals is hardly a special offer. Rapes, sexual assaults, head fucks and gaslights where all I wanted was a lover. Sometimes I wonder if they think we need people like them to have bitter pills to write about. Sickly muses, shrouded with bruises. But trust me, even with the layers of abuse and additional mental bruises, my world provides more clout. So as graciously as I can, I bow out. Thank you.
So what brought you here tonight to the Riot Garden?
To Riot Garden, well, I was lovely invited online by Molly. She's inspired by my spoken word poetry and she gave me space to do it. So I thought I'd come down and join Riot Garden, what it's about.
And your spoken word, you had so much to say that goes along with this and just in general. What inspires you with writing? How do you get going? Is it just things that happen in your life?
Yeah, I think I use my spoken word for therapy. I think I use it for cathartic release. It helps me define moments that I could overthink about forever and ever and ever, and I could just put it down to maybe 5 minutes of rhyming stanzas and then let it go. It's like my own incantation.
Yeah. And you also use the words that you write for your lyrics for Gurnal Gadafi. Yeah. Is it hard to break it down?
No, I love it. I love, like, I'll lie in bed and I'll write loads and loads of words for poems, and then Devon will write a riff and I'll be like, I knew what I wrote those 4 words for, and I'll just scream them and it turns into a song. And then some of them have been specifically written for Gurnal, and some of them I've written them as poems, and some of them, as you can see, would come down with me. We go from the poem straight into the song, and it really works. Like, I think there's loads of bands that do the talking like this with poetry over the top, and it's like, I don't think people are listening to their words, and I think we can do the screaming and then just stop it for a moment and then do the spoken word, and it's different. It's different, and I think
it's different. I loved it when I saw you guys do that. I was like, oh my goodness, yes.
That's really nice. I'm glad you like it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I know we'll be seeing more from you.
Yes, we shall. We'll see you soon. Cookie from Gurnal signing out. There you go.
Sadly, it's a song about how we should teach boys not to rape rather than teach girls how to dress. And it's sad, but it seems to be a recurrent theme over what people have spoken over the night. But whilst it's still a problem, it's something that still needs to be sang about. So I hope you enjoy. It's 4 points.
I'm in the middle of a riot garden. How did that happen? Where did the name come from? How did you start doing this?
Riot Garden actually came from a post that Hannah made about Rebellion Festival. A lot of people coming forward about sexual harassment and sexual assault that had occurred at the gig, and the response that we got was just not the best, to say the least. And we were just fed up with it. We wanted to create a scene that was kind and inclusive, and where we wouldn't be sexually assaulted just for standing at the front of a gig. And we all sort of got in contact with each other, created this big group chat, and then we've just been bouncing ideas off each other from then. So yeah, that's kind of how we started.
And have you encountered that just at that festival or otherwise, in your experience?
So it's not just Rebellion that it happens. It is an issue within the punk scene as a whole, or any kind of festival. It happens. I think the thing was, to stop it happening, we need people to respond to it in the correct way, put things in place to try and prevent it. I gave some suggestions of like, oh, well, maybe if we have like a space that people can go to if they experience anything like that, they can tell you who it was, you can identify them and remove them from the festival. And it was kind of shut down. It's out of concern for the reputation. That's it. Yeah. Reputation of the punk festival. Yeah, it was pretty mad.
brought you here tonight?
Well, basically, when Molly asked us to play, how can we say no? Like, Riot Garden, their ethos and their meaning behind what they want to do is so important for, like, nowadays punk. Like, they're the youth of punk. They're the people that are going to be continuing punk. You know, there's a lot of promoters who believe in their ethos, but they're also a lot older, and they're kind of moving on and maybe not doing as many gigs and what have you. It's really important for people like Molly and Tom and the rest of the Riot Garden to kind of come through and keep the momentum going for what is important in punk rock, really. Like, the DIY scene is so important to get that point across. Like, what they believe in, I believe in, and I can support that.
Same here. Same here. It's just a very simple thing of Let's have safe spaces. Let's have everybody look out for each other and respect each other.
Yeah.
Simple as.
Like, regardless of being a woman in punk, obviously women and, you know, trans people and non-binary have a harder time, you know, people of colour have a harder time because you're seen as a minority or whatnot, but it's really important to just be inclusive and make sure every single person should feel comfortable coming to a gig. They should feel like they can get at the front, they should feel like they can dance, they can be around without fear of, like, anything happening. Like, I've been in a pit and, like, guys have grabbed my boobs, like, you know, pushing you around in the pit, and they're like, oh, I can use an excuse to kind of push you, but push you in the wrong place.
Yeah, and grope you while I push.
Yeah, I'll grope you while I push, exactly. Or you've been crowd surfing and people have thought, oh, I'll have a grab of your bum while I'm at it. And it's like, it shouldn't be, that's not all right. Like, you should be able to be in a pit and just move around without fear of having your boobs grabbed or your bum grabbed or whatever. Like, it should just
Absolutely. Yeah, it shouldn't happen. And with people like Molly and Hannah and Molly, it's Molly and Molly.
Yeah.
They're making that happen.
Yeah.
They're opening up that door further. That
Definitely.
we've cracked it open. And I think they're going to shove it open.
I think it's so important to kind of like make sure people are talking about it and make sure people are like pointing it out when things do happen, even if to you it seems like a minor thing. Calling people out even if they're your friends, even if they're like people you thought you could trust or people you thought wouldn't do that. Not making excuses for people. If your best friend does something like that, fucking call them out. Like, you know, if I see that happening, I'm not gonna allow that. Like, even if it's like my best friend, if I see something that I don't deem is right, I'm gonna tell them. Like, and I think it's important that they're getting their voices open, they're getting their talks out, and they're getting that point across to say this is not all right. And I love that. I can stand behind that completely.
I will be standing with you on that.